got a book launch, first edition, Ved Vijnana Upnishad by Dr. Gulab Kothari, and Arvind Kaliaji is going to moderate the session. Before we begin with that session, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all our sponsors, Etsy, Amar Ujala, Business Standard, The Week, Sakal Today, New India Express, Embassy of Italy in India, the JCB Prize for Literature, Dainik Bhaskar, Red FM, LIC, Dainik Bhaskar, the British Council, Embassy of Ireland, ABP, Chumbak, the United Nations, the Royal Norwegian Embassy, Blue One Inc., Escorts, Hero Future Energies, Australian High Commission, Culture Ireland, plus Embassy of Ireland, Dettol Banega Swasth India, Amazon India, Rajasthan Tourism, Embassy of United States of America in India, HarperCollins, Value First, Department of Women and Child, Government of Rajasthan, Embassy of Iceland, Ekank, Embassy of France, Fortis Hospital, One India, Daily Hunt, USPTO, iStart, Government of Rajasthan, Shrishti Manipal Institute of Art and Design and Technology, Mensa, Penguin, Bank of Baroda, Diageo, Jan McClaskey, Mahindra World City, T-Box, High Commission of Canada, Bira, VFS, Rambagh, Bottle Opener, Edelment, Ku, Launchara, Airtel, Clarks, our festival venue, Leela for the Writers' Ball, Rajasthan Patrika, Tribe, Jaipur, the Royal Hermitage, Airtel. And we've got Mr. Arvind Kaliaji to moderate the session. Arvind Kalia is the Vice President of Rajasthan Patrika Group and Director of the Institute of Vedic Studies, as established by the group to promote scientific aspects of the world's most ancient scriptures, the Vedas. With a previous background in marketing, he has management degrees from IIM Ahmedabad and Kellogg School of Business, Chicago. Despite being a core marketing professional, Kalia has devoted a majority of his time over the last 35 years to the study of Indian Vedic literature. Before joining Rajasthan Patrika, he was also a prominent academician at the University of Rajasthan, teaching marketing to MBA students. I hand over to Arvind ji to take forward the book launch.
Thank you so much. On behalf of Rajasthan Patrika Group, I extend very hearty and warm welcome to the book launch ceremony, Ved Vijnana Upnishad, authored by Dr. Gulab Kothari. Without wasting a minute, I take this opportunity to invite Professor Dayanand Bhargav, a Sanskrit scholar of international repute, on the dais here. We have another guest in waiting, Mr. Kaushik Roy, a communication expert of international repute, earlier president of Reliance Group of Companies. So far as communication is concerned, he will also be joining us soon here. Okay, please. I invite Mr. Kaushik Roy, popularly known as Roy Phoenix, on the dais here. Please give them a big applause here. With the permission of dais, I begin this program with Mangala Charan, which is a Sanskrit prayer to Almighty God for the auspicious beginning of this book launch ceremony. Here I invite Dr. Shweta Tiwari, who is a visiting professor in the famous Sanskrit University of Jaipur, Ramanandacharya University here, and she is also a research associate at Institute of Ved Vijnana and Research Jaipur, started by Patrika Group here. Dr. Shweta Tiwari.
Harihi Om Gananaan Tva Ganapati Gum Havamahe Priyanaan Tva Priyapati Gum Havamahe Nidhinaan Tva Nidhipati Gum Havamahe Vaso Mama Aham Jani Garbhadhama Tvam Jasi Garbhadham Harihi Om.
Thank you, Dr. Shweta. Now this is time to welcome our eminent speakers here. I invite Mr. Bhuvnesh Jain, who's the National Editorial Head, Rajasthan Patrika Group, and under his capable leadership, his team was able to take Patrika to the height of among the top 3 most trusted newspaper in the country as surveyed by BBC and writers. And I request Mr. Bhuvnesh Jain to welcome Professor Dayanand Bhargav by giving him the floral bouquet here. Thank you, Bhuvnesh ji. Thank you. Now I invite Mr. B.R. Singh. He is a National Circulation Head, Rajasthan Patrika Group, and under his able leadership, his team was able to take Patrika among the top 20 newspapers in the world as given by World Association of Newspaper here. So I request Mr. B.R. Singh ji to have a floral welcome of Mr. Kaushik Roy, popularly known as Roy Phoenix here. Thank you, B.R. Singh ji. Thank you. Now this is the time to introduce the author of this book, Ved Vijnana Upnishad, Dr. Gulab Kothari. One word is there to describe Gulab Kothari ji. This is soldier, that is Sainik here. He was a soldier. Later, he became soldier of pen, that is journalism. Then he became soldier of literature and poetry, world peace, and inter-religious understanding. And lastly, a spiritualism soldier. That means he was basically talking about spiritualism as beautifully expounded in our Ved Vijnana. After finishing his preliminary education, he joined Indian Air Force and participated in Indo-Pak War 1971. After successfully finishing his stint at Indian Air Force, he became, or rather he joined Rajasthan Patrika during 70s at the humble feet of his father, late Shri Karpur Chandra Kulish. If I remember, at that time, Patrika was a single edition newspaper, that means covering just one district in entire India, circulating a few thousand copies here and there, or maybe some scattered copy in Rajasthan. When he took retirement from the active day-to-day operations and participation in management, Patrika had already spread in the 9 states, having more than 30 printing centers, selling more than 3 million copies per day. Now he is a sensitive writer and a profound scholar of Ved Vijnana, secrets of nature as expounded in the Vedas. He is also the chairman of Vedic Peeth Institute of Ved Vijnana Studies and Research, Jaipur, India. He has received several awards, notable among which is the prestigious Moorti Devi Award by Bharatiya Gyan Peeth for his poetic work, Main Hi Radha, Main Hi Krishna. He has also been recipient of the 2 most outstanding journalism award, one from the Express Group Ramnath Goenka Award and one from the Press Council of India, that is Raja Ram Mohan Rai Award, for his outstanding contribution in the field of journalism here. Now this is the time that we should see him personally in the video, where he will be personally explaining the essence of his book, Ved Vijnana Upnishad here. So I request the management here to play the video of Dr. Gulab Kothari talking about his book, Ved Vijnana Upnishad here.
आज मेरे लिए प्रसन्नता की बात है कि मेरे एक ग्रंथ वेद विज्ञान उपनिषद का लोकार्पण हो रहा है। ये इसलिए महत्वपूर्ण है कि कई सालों के बाद इस विषय पर कोई ग्रंथ आ रहा है, तो नई पीढ़ी की भाषा में आ रहा है, प्रश्नोत्तर के रूप में आ रहा है, ताकि अब तक जो भारतीय ग्रंथों की भाषा में ज्ञान था, जो नई पीढ़ी के पढ़ने के लिए उपयुक्त नहीं था, अब नई पीढ़ी की भाषा में आ रहा है। उस ज्ञान को हमने अनुदित नहीं किया, क्योंकि जब वेद पुराण जैसे ग्रंथ लिखे गए थे, तब किसी भाषा का उद्भव नहीं था। ज्यादातर कार्य संकेतों के माध्यम से प्रस्तुत किया गया था, और उन संकेतों के अर्थ सही पूछे तो बाद में जो शब्दावलियां तैयार हुई, कई जगह वो अर्थ भी खो से गए। उन वेद विज्ञान की उन शब्दों की विशेषता सबसे बड़ी ये थी कि उनके अर्थ उन शब्दों में ही थे। किसी शब्दकोश में उनके अर्थ नहीं मिलेंगे, न उन शब्दों के कहीं आपको पर्यायवाची नहीं मिलेंगे। और दूसरा कि उनके पीछे एक दृष्टि थी एक तत्व ज्ञान था कि किसी शास्त्र का नाम वेद नहीं है, उन तत्वों की प्रक्रियाओं को हम अब जब देख रहे हैं उनको आप वेद कह रहे हैं। उन प्रक्रियाओं को जब शब्दों के रूप में ढालने का प्रयास किया तब वो शब्द वेद हो गए। लेकिन सृष्टि के जो मूल तत्व थे, जब हम मान के चले कि प्रलय काल था, कुछ भी नहीं था, सूर्य भी नहीं था, केवल अंधकार था, तब वहां सृष्टि में क्या गतिविधियां थी, उस स्वरूप को जब हम देखेंगे तो वहां हमको उस वेद के कार्य होते हुए नजर आएंगे। वो किस रूप में तत्व काम कर रहे थे, वहां ब्रह्मा क्या थे और विष्णु और इंद्र जैसे प्राण थे वो क्या काम कर रहे थे, कैसे सूर्य वहां से पैदा हुआ, उस सूर्य के पैदा होने के बाद न केवल प्रकाश हुआ, ताप भी हुआ, और सूर्य इस जगत का पिता भी बन गया। पिता बनने का अर्थ क्या है कि उसके ही शुक्र से सारी संतानें पैदा हो गई। तो आज जो 84 लाख योनियां हम देख रहे हैं सृष्टि में, उन सब का शुक्र सूर्य में। ये तो कोई विज्ञान वाले हंसेंगे हमारे ऊपर, ये कैसे संभव है? चिड़िया का भी वही शुक्र है, पेड़ का भी वही शुक्र है, मछली का भी वही शुक्र है, आदमी का भी वही शुक्र है, और हम सब कह रहे हैं ब्रह्मास्मि। पिता वही जाए थे पुत्रो, जो पिता होता है वही पुत्र होता है। तो फिर ये विसंगतियां नहीं है। इन सब के वैज्ञानिक विवेचन उत्तर आपको इस ग्रंथ में मिलेंगे। कैसे आत्मा का निर्माण होता है, कैसे जीव आगे बढ़ता है, कैसे जो शास्त्रों पर जो वेदों के जो सूक्त हैं, ऋचाएं हैं, जो गीता के अंदर कई तरह से बहुत कुछ स्पष्टीकरण भी आपको वहां मिलता है, उनको भी हम अगर जब वापस वैज्ञानिक दृष्टि से देखते हैं तो उन्हें अपने जीवन को समझने का एक आधार मिलता है। आज भी इस विज्ञान में, आधुनिक विज्ञान में, वो तत्व कहाँ है जो मुझे खुद को समझने के अंदर सहायता करते हो, मुझे अपनी आत्मा को समझने में मदद करने वाले हो। भारतीय दर्शन का तो पहला सूत्र है कि आत्मा अलग है और शरीर अलग है। मैं आत्मा हूं, शरीर नहीं हूं, मैं मरता नहीं हूं, माँ बाप मुझे पैदा नहीं कर सकते, वे शरीर को पैदा करते हैं। फिर तो ब्रह्म आत्मा सब में एक है। इसको हम कहते हैं एको ज्ञानम ज्ञानम। जब मुझे ये समझ में आ जाए कि सब प्राणियों में, सब जड़ और चेतन में आत्मा एक ही है, तो मैं उसको कहता हूं ज्ञान है ये। इसको हम ज्ञान कहते हैं। और विविधम ज्ञानम विज्ञानम, उस एक से ये 84 लाख कैसे बन गए, ये जानकारी विज्ञान है। विविधम ज्ञानम विज्ञानम, विरुद्धम ज्ञानम विज्ञानम, विशिष्टतम ज्ञानम विज्ञानम। ये 3 तरह की दिशाएं आपको इस विज्ञान भाव में मिलती है। और अंतर क्या है? आप आधुनिक विज्ञान को देखिए, वो उसका मूल ध्येय बाहर की जानकारी है, उपकरणों के ऊपर आधारित जानकारी है, लेबोरेटरी में काम होता है, उपकरण ऑन करके चले गए, आके उसके आंकड़े जो आते हैं उससे अपने निष्कर्ष निकालता है वैज्ञानिक। तब वो जो निष्कर्ष है और वो जो विज्ञान से नई चीजें पैदा होंगी, उनका उपयोग कैसा होगा, ये उपयोग करने वाला तय करेगा कि अणुबम बनाएगा या अणु ऊर्जा से बिजली घर बनाएगा। तो सृष्टि की दोनों दिशाएं आपको वहां दिखाई पड़ेंगी। भारतीय विज्ञान में 2 दिशाएं नहीं है, एक ही दिशा है, और वो भीतर की दिशा है। जब आप भीतर में खुद को जानेंगे तो उसके लिए खुद को भीतर जाना पड़ेगा, तब आपकी कोई जानकारी आपके लिए अहितकारी नहीं हो सकती। इसको भी हमें समझना है। तो ये इतना बड़ा भेद है। ये आधुनिक विज्ञान को, और हम अगर अपने विज्ञान को उन तरह से देखते हैं तो बहुत बहुत उसकी परतें खुलती हुई दिखाई देंगी, और उसी से शायद हम जीने का एक बड़ा रास्ता निकाल सकते हैं। इसी से भारत विश्व गुरु था, आज वो ज्ञान लुप्त हो गया। सारे शास्त्र कह रहे हैं यथांडे तथा पिंडे, जो ब्रह्मांड में है वही शरीर में है। मेरा पूरा शरीर ब्रह्मांड की प्रतिकृति है। जो ब्रह्मांड में वो सब मेरे शरीर में है। जितने एलिमेंट बाहर हैं उतने मेरे भीतर हैं। जो सिद्धांत बाहर हैं वो मेरे भीतर हैं। फिर अगर मैं शरीर को समझ लूंगा तो ब्रह्मांड को समझ सकता हूँ। अगर मैं आधुनिक साइंस अगर ब्रह्मांड को समझ सकती है तो शरीर को भी समझ सकती है। पर अभी तक इस तरह के उदाहरण सामने नहीं आए। हमारे यहाँ 3 शरीर माने जाते हैं, स्थूल, सूक्ष्म और कारण। मेडिकल साइंस में तो 3 शरीर आज भी नहीं दिखाई देंगे आपको। तो मुझे लगता है कि इतने बहुत सारे प्रश्न नई पीढ़ी के दिमाग में हैं, इनके उत्तर उनको अभी नहीं मिल रहे हैं। ये प्रस्तुत ग्रंथ प्रश्नोत्तर के रूप में है, तो उन प्रश्नों को हमने शामिल करने का प्रयास किया है, जिसमें विज्ञान के गूढ़ विषय भी हैं और उनका जीवन के साथ क्या तालमेल है, उनको समझने से मेरे जीवन में क्या परिवर्तन आएंगे और किस तरह मैं खुद को समझने में सक्षम हो सकूंगा, यही हमारा प्रयास है। तो मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि ये ग्रंथ आने वाली पीढ़ियों के ज्ञानवर्धन में सहायक होगा और हम स्वयं को प्रकृति के नजदीक समझ पाएंगे। नमस्कार।
Now I invite Professor Dayanand Bhargav on the dais to speak about this book, Ved Vijnana Upnishad. Before inviting Professor Dayanand Bhargav, I just take a minute to introduce him to the audience here. Professor Dayanand Bhargav is a Sanskrit scholar, thinker, writer, and an ideal teacher. He has written and edited a dozen of books related to Ved Vijnana and Sanskrit literature. He has been conferred with President Award for his contribution to Sanskrit language. Professor Bhargav has served in different positions for colleges and universities like Ramjas College, University of Delhi, Kendriya Sanskrit Vidyapeeth Jammu and Allahabad, Jain Aran Vyas Vishwavidyalaya Jodhpur, Jagat Guru Ramanandacharya Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya Jaipur. His key works examples are Richa Rahasya, Ved Vijnana Vyakyamala, Ved Vijnana Vimarsha, Mahapragya, Darshan, etc. Professor Bhargav has been a member of Rajasthan Sanskrit Academy and Kendriya Sanskrit Samiti and a syndicate member of Jain Aran Vyas Vishwavidyalaya Jodhpur. Professor Bhargav has visited more than half a dozen countries, including US, Russia, and Britain. Apart from President Award, he has also received Acharya Hastimal Puraskar and Preksha Puraskar. He has also been awarded by Rajasthan Sanskrit Academy and Department of Education. He is still serving the Sanskrit language and Vedic literature without being tired at this grand old age. So I welcome Professor Dayanand Bhargav to have a few words on the book Ved Vijnana Upnishad.
honorable dais, friends. If I want to speak about the book of Gulab Kothari and want to introduce him also as a person he is reflecting in his work. You know, Gulab means rose, flower of rose. And if it is pink color, it indicates philosophy. If it is yellow, there is yellow rose also, which indicates poetry. If it is red, it indicates journalism. Sorry for the journalists. And if it is black, that it indicates mysticism. And if it is white, it represents spiritualism. So the various colors of the flower of rose represent the personality of Gulab. I do not know when he was named as Gulab by his father, who was also my friend, he had this in view. But the name has a power. And you give names up to something, qualities automatically come along with the name. Now, if this fourfold personality of the author are represented in his work, this work on Ved Vijnana, what is the central theme? The central theme is that we are different, apparently. But essentially we are one. That is the main theme of the Vedas. I won't recite many, let it remain there. I won't recite many, let it remain there. I won't recite many Sanskrit verses, but one is important. Ekam va idam vibhabhuva sarvam. One became many. And the process by which one becomes many are 4 or 5-fold methods how one becomes many. The importance of this theme is very clear. When we emphasize on the difference, then there is a clash. When we emphasize on the unity, there is love. But what has happened is this, that those who have preached love and peace have been lopsided by overlooking the differences. In other words, when they speak of spiritualism, they overlook the mundane life. Unfortunately, this has happened for many centuries in India. And this Ved Vijnana, this book itself, is a chain of series of books in which, in this city of Jaipur, a Pandit Madhusudan Oja, established that if you go into spiritualism or peace of mind, it is not necessary to withdraw from worldly affairs, so that peace and prosperity can go together. Now this can be easily said, but there are difficulties in it. How Ved Vijnana or the science of the Vedas solve it? The one way of solving is this, that the external world appears to be different from the internal world. What I am inside, my mind and intellect, is different from what you are seeing me in my physical form, true. But in fact, face is the index of mind. What is happening inside me is reflected in outside world also, which means that you cannot overlook either of them. The outer world is the manifestation of the inner world, and therefore they can go together, just as the seed and the tree can go together. Seed is unmanifest within the earth, tree is manifest, but both of them go together. It is an example. But if you come to the original point, consciousness and matter are related to each other as cause and effect. Consciousness is the cause, which is all the same, and matter is the effect, which is different from point to point. This is how this world is spoken of as originating from consciousness, which is technically known as Brahma. Now, how does it happen? How the unmanifest becomes manifest? How the inner world becomes reflected in the outer world? Now, there are a few things how it happens. We go from the subtle to the gross. This is one way. Mind is subtle, body is gross. In material world, solid, snow is solid, water is liquid, and vapor is gaseous. But all of them are different in a way, but one in a way. The one can be converted into the other. Coming to some familiar examples, politics, for example. 1 minute more. Oh. If we come to politics, it is self-centered. If we come to religion, it is other-centered. And if we come to spiritualism, there is no difference between the self and the other. That is non-duality. So this is how this Ved Vijnana is an attempt to reconcile what appear to be contradictory to each other. In this book, it is a dialogue form book, just as Greek philosophers were doing it, just as Krishna and Arjuna have a dialogue. Similarly, Gulabji has a dialogue with the anchor. It is quite interesting. And if I observe this introduction, to get you interested in the book is available. If you want that, how a long tradition of 5,000 years has sought out some of the basic problems of life, the book is a guide. Thank you very much.
Now I invite Mr. Kaushik Roy, popularly known as Roy Phoenix. He is a communication expert of international repute, and he is a film director, script writer also. And his movie was awarded, first movie was awarded at Stuttgart Film Festival in 2007 also. And he is a novelist also. So now I invite Mr. Kaushik Roy to speak about the author and the book.
हाँ? हाँ, हाँ. Hello, everybody. I have to first say that I'm completely, lost for words for being over here to speak on this subject. I think for me, the subject over here is the author, because I've known him for many years. And when it comes to the topic about which he's written, I'm completely unpad, and therefore I will not go there. Let me just say a little bit about Gulab Bhai, as I call him, Gulab Bhai. He's been an elder brother for the entire advertising media industry for many years. And I think the many references to the colors of the rose, I would only say that if there is anything to say that there is a rose as Gulab Bhai, which is meant to be the friendly, lovable person who's always smiling, that's what Gulab Bhai is all about. He's been the generous host, and for us in advertising, which is perhaps very similar to what is happening over here, we can't do without sponsors. We need people to sort of fund and make things happen. So one of the biggest things that ever happened for India in the sphere of advertising was the Ad Asia, which was hosted over here in 2002. And in that event, we couldn't have started. Of course, there were many other people who sort of chipped in, but that Ad Asia, which was like telling whole of Asia that India is doing a great job as far as advertising is concerned, Gulab Bhai and Rajasthan Patrika were the first people to say that they would support it. And I think as far as today's event is concerned, I was kind of asked to be over here. I'm completely underprepared to even speak about this, but I will only say one thing, which is a little bit of Gulab Bhai from my conversation with him yesterday. And even at that point, I didn't know that I would be standing over here and talking. But what I understood from Gulab Bhai is that one thing that we just heard is that everything that we do comes from inside. And that is the core essence of what we are meant to be. And we are somewhere all connected, which I think is the core and essence of the science that he believes in. I think there are many people over here who will understand this from a spiritual point of view. And I will only say that this is coming from a person who believes that everything spiritual has a science. So art and science has always got to be together. I wish this book the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now this is the time for the book release here. So I request the staff here to come and let's have a book release, Ved Vijnana Upnishad by Dr. Gulab Kothari here. Now I invite Saurabh Bhandari. He is the National Head Advertising for Memento to express our thankfulness to our eminent speakers here. One more. Now I invite Shri Harish Parashar for a quick vote of thanks.
नमस्कार, आप सबका बहुत बहुत आभार इस कार्यक्रम में भागीदार बनने के लिए, खास तौर से दयानंद भार्गव साहब का जो स्वास्थ्य के इस पड़ाव पर भी इस कार्यक्रम में मौजूद रहे, और राय साहब का भी मैं बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। साथ ही साथ बड़ी संख्या में जो युवा पीढ़ी हमारे बीच मौजूद है, उन सब के लिए बहुत बहुत आभार, शुक्रिया।
Yeah, we'd like to thank Rajasthan Patrika and all our panelists out here for their being here and for the book release. This session ends, and we will start the process of the next session right away. So, ladies and gentlemen, what follows is being Remo, and I'll begin as we always do with a namaskar and a welcome to the 15th edition of Jaipur Literature Festival, protected by Dettol Banega Swasth India at Bank of Baroda, Mughal Tent. We are delighted to introduce Being Remo. This session is presented by One India. Remo Fernandez is an icon for a generation of music lovers. His personal and professional triumphs and tragedies come together in a kaleidoscopic memoir, from distributing home-produced albums on a scooter in the 1980s to becoming a national sensation. Remo, the autobiography of Remo Fernandez, offers a window to the musician's exhilarating life and compelling story. We have here Remo in conversation with Sanjoy Roy,